पणजी मिड टाउनार एक सेशन ऑर्गनायज केल्लें तांची विकली मिटिंगेच्या हातून एक कन्वर्सेशन विथ द मेयर एंड अ अर्बन प्लॅनर. एक आमचे कडेन अर्बन प्लॅनर आसा हांगा आर्किटेक्ट विनायक बर्णे हू केम ऑल द वे फ्रॉम कॅलिफोर्निया, गोंयचो तो, आनी आमचो मेयर आशिल्लो रोहित मोन्सेरात. सो हे दोग जाणांक घेवन आमी एक कन्वर्सेशन केलें की आमी आमची सिटी कशी हॅपी करपाची. सो द मेकींग ऑफ हॅपी सिटीज आमचो तात्पर्य आशिल्लें की हे प्रोजेक्टार आमी उलोवन सगळ्यांचे उलोवन घेवन आमी एक डिस्कशन करपाचें, आमी एक आयडियाज काडपाच्यो आनी त्यो आयडियाज आमी कश्यो इंटिग्रेट करून एक प्रोजेक्ट करपाक शकता पणजे खातीर ऑन अ पायलट बेसीस. आनी हो प्रोजेक्ट जर तो आमी केलो, वेदर वी आर एबल टू मेक दीस हॅपी सिटी ऑर नो, वेदर वी कॅन रिवायव द टावन ऑर नो. सो एक आमचो एक प्रयत्न आसा की आमी पणजे खातीर कितें तरी करचें म्हणून. आनी होपफुली हे मिटिंगेच्या नंतर आमी एक प्रोजेक्ट घेतला जे पाटो प्लाझार आमी कितें करपाक सोदता ताचे आमी डिटेल्स वर्कआउट करून आमी फुडें व्हरपाक सोदता.
25 years
आमचे रोटरी क्लबाचे हे वर्साची सिल्वर जुबली आमची 25 वर्सां जाल्ली आसा रोटरी क्लबाक. त्या निमित्यान आमी हे प्रोजेक्ट करून पणजे खातीर दिवपाक सोदता. सो दॅट वील बी आवर इंटरवेंशन एज एन आर्किटेक्ट. दॅट वूड बी माय फर्स्ट मोस्ट प्रायोरिटी.
The truth?
Is it the truth?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Is it fair to all concerned?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it build goodwill and better friendships?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Will it be beneficial to all concerned? Thank you, Joe. Please be seated.
The main public spaces of a city are its most vital organs. Thank you.
Thank you. Today we have got distinguished persons. We've got distinguished personalities in our audience today. Thank you. I think I can be audible without the mic. Thank you all for coming here for a good conversation on making of the cities happy cities, and we would like to do something for PANJIM. Before we begin, I'll also announce that we had a nice event, a Barish cricket, where we had cricket played in the rains at the cake at Gaspar Dias. And just today evening, at around 4:30, we had the opening of the Sahayata 15th batch of Sahayata home care nurses. Further on the Azadi Ka Amrit Mahotsav, we have planned a lot of events. A lot of events in the sense we have got 3 events lined up. One is we are hosting a reception for the war veterans and the war widows at the Bambolim Auditorium at Army Camp. This is in association with the Sainik Welfare Trust. We are also having a program on 15th of August right here at the Kapulo Mall, where we are going to hoist 75 flags, national flags over here in the presence of, or rather the hosting will be done by people who have not been fortunate enough to hoist it. So thank you Manoj for giving us this opportunity to tie up with you. So this will be hoisted by orphanages, there will be old age home, there would be disabled schools and all these people who are going to come and they are going to hoist it. So it's going to be a big event. I welcome you all for that. I will send the flyers in the days to come. We are also launching the Har Ghar Tiranga campaign. So we would be giving you one flag. We already have the flags with us. So before you leave from this meeting, you will get a flag which you can hoist at your residence. And because of this Har Ghar Tiranga campaign, we have, may I ask Dhruv Madan, our TRF chair, to please come forward, because we are going to launch a project this time, and this launch is going to be a little different. It's a 75 years of independence of India and 25 years of the club. So at that 75 and 25, both are milestone, it becomes 100, and we request all our members to contribute $100 to the TRF. So that's the scheme that we have come up with, and rolling, putting into $100 to the TRF. Okay, there are many people who are raising their hands up, so it's nice to see. We are going to visit the INS Vikramaditya. We are doing this on the 21st. We have been allowed by the naval forces to come and be on the deck and spend the whole evening with them. So I've been getting the numbers. So you have to give me the names by tomorrow. You're coming. Rohit is also coming in. So you have to give me the names and your Aadhaar card by tomorrow so that we can go ahead and complete all the formalities. So that's what we're looking at. I would also like to put on record that sometimes some of our ANETs have been very interested in doing social work. And I'm proud to say that the first ANET of our club, Mohit Kakulo, messaged me the night before saying that he wants to contribute to that joy of giving, and he wants to give a lunch to any of these organizations or whichever is possible on the occasion of his birthday. So it's a fantastic move when we see ANETs coming forward rather than the Rotarians celebrating their birthdays of their ANETs in these organizations. So thank you, thank you to Manoj. Please convey our thanks to Mohit. Okay, so that's all that we had, I guess, because I want to keep it short. And just take that. Before we go to the next level, I just want to acknowledge the presence of Rotarian Gauri Shirodkar. Gauri Shirodkar has been an active member of the club, and we have conferred the honorary membership on him during the installation, though he was not available that day for the pinning and the formal function. May I request Gaurish to please come so that we can do this function. So.
Sachin, tu hमें 3 लाइन सुजित लाइन की 3 लाइन
Yes, ये get it.
अच्छा sit down.
Sir.
Perfect.
Sachin, बरोबर आहे. Gaurish, गुलाब.
Thank you. Rotarian colleagues, guests who are present, special guests who are present here, including Mayor and other I don't know the names. I don't know. Good evening to you all. It's a great feeling and being touched for having been given recognition as an honorary member of this prestigious club. And I am lucky that this event may be small, is happening during the silver jubilee of this club. And this year, under the reins of Siddha Saprasad and his board, we will definitely perform and take our club to greater heights. And bring glory to the club. I wish the team best wishes and grand success. I will also put my efforts whenever the club requires my assistance. I am I express my gratitude for this honor and being pinned today. I feel proud for this moment. I thank you all once again. That's all. Thank you. Thank you all.
Architect and urban designer from California that have been going on the social media and the newspaper is the honorary advisor to the government of Goa to the TCP, and we hope to see something good happening for Goa. So over to you, Bobby. And since you are presenting, I don't want to be seated here. I want to see your presentation, so I'll go there from the in the audience.
So something good will come out of this. Myself have no idea, but that's okay. So guys, I'm to see many of you there. It was very nice to be back, and always good to be busy, but I hope it's for all the right reasons. So what I want to do today is speak only for 10-15 minutes. Whether you're doing it for business, whether you're doing it as an architect, as a landscape architect, or a progressive places in the world, they have been done for many reasons, sometimes economic, sometimes social. Came out about 10 years ago now called Happy City, transforming our lives through urban design. I think the mayor, sorry, I showed it of transforming cities. We're trying to eventually make citizens happy. What does that mean? He said his conclusion was making people feel equal is more important than being equal. Therefore, that they had the right to fundamental things like open space, taking care of the senior citizens, like proper infrastructure, like access to amenities for their children. If they all had this, whether they were rich or they were poor, they would feel like the city was taking care of them, and as a result, they were happy with their city. So there is now a new progressive way of thinking about cities, where everything we are doing as planners, as architects, as investors, as patrons, etc., are trying to basically create trajectories where you're making everybody empowered, and that's the key. So what I want to do is share with you 2 or 3 projects that I've worked on where we had some success stories. I think I shared this last time as well, but I want to share it again. This is a city in California called Lancaster, which is a modest city. It's not an affluent city. Remember, I come from California, which is, Beverly Hills. You might have heard of Beverly Hills, one of the most expensive real estates in the world. This is not Beverly Hills. This is a very modest city in a desert. So the climate is very harsh. And it's about 100,000 people, which is not much in the US. And in 2010, if you remember, there was an economic downturn. Nobody was doing well. Businesses were not doing well. So in the downtown of this city, the street, the main street, which was thriving with businesses years ago, was looking like this, almost like a lockdown street. Businesses were out. In the US, streets were made very wide because transportation engineers were taught that taking cars was the most important thing to the streets. Even here, they think that way. So this street was 100 feet, which is about 33 meters from building to building. It had sides. This empty lot that you see right here, which is lying empty right now. I don't know if this is viable or not viable. This is what we think should be done. You take this parking, you pave this little area, you put the parking there, you make a connection, and you go in. Now, in the future, when PANJIM has a comprehensive parking strategy, you can put a building here and complete this square. As there was a Kamara Municipal, which I think was demolished for some reason. You can bring it back in the new form. But that's later. But you can clean the square right now. Simple idea. You can clean the square of parking, bring the parking back, connect it to the park, increase the sidewalks. This is a project that we've done. There are numerous advantages to this. You can now have spaces for vendors, for all kinds of things. Just cleaning the square, not making it entirely pedestrian. This is very important. PANJIM today is working with all the pressure it has from mobility, too many cars. PANJIM is working because it has a street grid. Cars can flow. If you take one part of PANJIM and pedestrianize it, you're finished. I can guarantee you. Right? So we have to be very careful what we do. So what the idea of this scheme was, again, like Lancaster, keep it flexible. Allow cars to go through. Sometimes it's pedestrian. So sometimes, on a normal day, the square would look like this. There are cars going through, people are walking, it's the usual. But on a festive day, which it already happens during Mary Magdalene Festival, etc., the place will look like this. You can just as easily close it, you can pull a prop, you can bring some lights. Very simple. You take it out, you bring it in. So the more malleable your spaces are, the more activities you can bring in. This is the vendor's court that we proposed. I can give you details later if you want. And this is the widened sidewalk. So what I'm saying is, these are simple things that could be done with investment, but you have to do it in two ways. Keep it transparent. Don't do this in secret. People should not come out and shout. Show these. We draw these drawings so we can show it to everybody. So people get excited about it. People may criticize it, but you can see what we are trying to do. You understand the benefits, and then you do it. And then we also looked at Pato. Because since I've been coming to over the last 10 years, my singular biggest concern has been Pato. Pato is a wrong example of planning. It should never be done again in Panjim or any other city in Goa. Why? Because Pato is a single-use district. Pato has only one use, offices. Maybe a library, but by and large, it's offices. There may be some other things happening there, but the big use is office. Now what happens is, to maintain those offices, crores and crores of rupees have gone into creating this humongous parking lot, which is completely filled with asphalt. There are no trees there, hardly any trees. It's a massive heat island. Worst of all, the drains are broken and it floods. Yeah, I've seen videos. So what happens is, this enormous crores of investment that you put in to create parking goes wasted every day at 6 o'clock when the office is closed. So what are we doing? What kind of planning is this? Imagine Pato as a mixed-use idea, where you have offices, you have residential, you have all kinds of things. It's 24/7. The bottom line is, today the train has left the station. Pato is going to be offices. So what we tried to do is, we said, after 6 o'clock, this place is a wasted resource anyway. Can we bring it alive? Can we use this massive parking lot which is there by bringing in cars, by bringing in vendors, by creating such an iconic space? There's so much parking there anyway. The Panjimites, instead of congesting Panjim in the night or in the evenings, can now say, you know what, we can also hang out in Pato. So we came up with a proposal where this is the existing condition, proposed condition, similar to what we have done in the Lancaster project. You can see on the top, it's largely electric poles. You can bring it alive with some trees and create a place. This is very early drawing. Create a place where you can really now think about making this place very interesting and beautiful. So I'll stop there, but here's my major point. These are very early studies. I've shown you a project that we've implemented in the Lancaster project. I've shown you a project which is Vision, which is the church square. And this is the early stages of a project for Pato. The question is twofold, so that we can have a discussion. One, are these good ideas? Number two, what are some other ideas that we should be talking about to make Panjim better? We'll talk about that in a minute. Amit, our friend, will moderate this. And number three, most important, how do we implement this project? They're very simple. They're going to take some ideas about where the money comes from. And how do we ensure that we don't just invest, but we reap the benefits? So with that, Mr. Mayor, we can begin our discussion.
On how to make our cities happy places. So thank you, Bobby, as always. And today we have a panel discussion of two eminent panelists. I would ask, Bobby has just touched upon a project which he has shown in the past to us on how that parts of the city could be improved. But I believe going forward, there are many more issues that a city like Panjim would possess, and it still has, and it can be also answered. So I would like you to just dig into some more pertinent issues that you may find. And also, let me begin with this, is that I want to keep this discussion very informal. That means I'm going to ask questions to Bobby, to our mayor, and also I will throw a couple of questions to our audience as you are part of our, the entire project together.
Right. So I wanted to take 3 points for discussion today, and I'll take them one by one. And then, when I finish the point, I'll look at Amit and you can move on to me. The first issue is about monsoon. Okay, I think we're talking about Panjim today. Any city that is struggling with a monsoon climate,
it has to respond to a monsoon climate. I don't think PANJIM today responds to a monsoon climate. The way PANJIM behaves today is as if there are no monsoons, and the monsoons have just arrived and we don't know what to do. The difference is the monsoon is a predictable pattern, right? You know exactly when it's going to come, you know exactly what's going to happen, you know when the water is going to be large, small, you know every single thing about it. So the question at hand is, from a planning perspective, what do we do to PANJIM? Where do we intervene with PANJIM? How do we intervene with PANJIM to make sure that the monsoon is a virtue, not a disgrace? And I'm saying it from a disgrace point of view because the flooding, the disgraceful conditions where half the city is flooded, where we're getting wet all the time, you know, people are complaining about it. The Portuguese designed PANJIM for monsoons. There was a lot of lovely stuff that was happening during that time. We forgot this. So I want to ask this question and raise this question about what can we do to talk about monsoons. And I want to raise 2 points, okay? One, which relates to pedestrian circulation, which is the loss of the arcade. I think PANJIM was a city of arcades. We've forgotten this arcade. The bylaws, the rules don't talk about it anymore, so that's one, something to think about. And the second one is flooding. The flooding issue in PANJIM is an absolutely solvable problem as far as I'm concerned.
So, can you chip in here, Mayor? Because I'm sure that through the smart city and other initiatives of the government, there are some measurable improvements already taking place in PANJIM. But if you could share some more thoughts on.
So, good evening, everyone. Now, the first problem that we're facing honestly, is that considering all these years, we don't honestly have like a complete drainage map of all of PANJIM. So now hopefully we are trying to rectify that. Now under the, say, urban development, now they've hired these consultants, now they're going to be actively working with, say, with the city of PANJIM in the coming months. So now what these people are going to be doing is they're creating a master plan for PANJIM. So we'll consider all aspects. We'll consider your flooding, your economics and various other issues that we currently have. So now what we've been doing currently is basically piecemeal. For example, now everyone knows that in Miramar, the Stella Marie area floods. Everyone, it's happened for like years. Now currently what we've been doing is now through G-Suda, we've gotten like a massive drain built that should solve the problem. So now our problem is we don't comprehensively have a plan for the entire city. So what we've been doing is, like I said, we've been handling everything piecemeal. For example, now we have 6 Portuguese drains that run through the entire breadth of the city. Now those were designed to basically handle the entire flow of the city. Now out of those 6 drains, 4 of them are just not functional at all. Either buildings have come on top of them, or they've collapsed in, or there are various other issues there. 2 are functional. Now what we plan to do in the coming months is basically open up these areas, do a survey and see what is functional and start fixing that. So our aim is slowly over the course of maybe the next couple of years, we'll start addressing each of these issues until we finally get to a point where the city absolutely does not flood. So that's currently what we're working on. So.
Thank you. Visible and sure-shot solutions to these issues. Can you share some more light on that?
Well, so I can't talk about PANJIM unless we study PANJIM, but the reason I feel quite confident that we can solve this problem is because there are maps where, you know, we know the locations of the drains. There are very capable civil engineers. I've spoken to some of them actually, with Siddha and others, who know this flooding situation extremely well. There is pretty serious clarity and confidence about what we can begin to do. Of course, this is going to require very serious study, but it's not like we are starting from scratch. The issues are known. The problems are known. So I think we need to, as the mayor said, comprehensively sit down, make this issue a priority, invest money, and really make this happen. That's number one. But the other point I want to make is, when PANJIM was first planned by the Portuguese in the 17th century, it was designed extremely intelligently. They knew the monsoons would come and flood the town. I want to call it a town. So what they did is they sloped the city on 2 sides. The half of the water was going down towards the Mandovi River, the other half was going towards Fontainage, and the other side into a swamp. And then there were local parks, jardins, and all the little greens, which were becoming local absorption areas. Okay? So now what has happened is the amount of water has become so extreme that neither does it go on both sides, nor is it able to retain. The volume is so much, the parks cannot retain. So if we can start with the drainage issue, then we can repurpose these greens as well. so that local area flooding can be mitigated. For example, you can take the park around Church Square. You can gently slope the asphalt or the roads on both sides of it, 4 sides of it, so that locally the water, local drainage doesn't happen, local flooding doesn't happen. You can use these pockets of greens, which has been done all over the world. It has been done in Mumbai, it has been done in Delhi. It's called sponge urbanism. You use these parks as sponges to prevent local area drainage. So there are 2 ways of thinking about it. A large-scale comprehensive investment to make sure the macro issue of water flow is addressed, and small-scale open space enhancement to capture the water.
Yeah, so
Sandeep has a question.
No, basically what you say, city. I am audible? I think Portuguese designed this city in a very, for drainage specifically, in a very nice manner, in a very technical manner. But due to development, so many vagaries occurred. There were footings which came in the drainage itself. Road widening, they constructed drains but which were not connected to earlier drains. There are so many issues which made drains defunct, means their function got defunct. Now, whatever, there has been a paradigm shift in the rainfall also. The rainfall intensity has increased over the years. I agree with you that infiltration has reduced because of green area, everything, concretization, the runoff is increased. Okay, that's fine. But green sponges will not help infiltration because our groundwater is very high. Just after monsoon, you will get groundwater just about 50 centimeter or even 1 meter below the ground. Whereas just before monsoon, it is almost 8 to 10 meters below the ground. We have got a laterite strata which migration of groundwater takes place very fast. So that is an issue. Third thing what I would like to state is, look, I have been voicing this for long, but one should take a sort of inventory of all the drains which are actually functional. Inventory means not just where the drain goes, but their size, their slope, because one has to find out how much capacity a drain can carry. Then one has to work out in grids how much water comes from there and how much water a drain can take. And excess water, these are all underground drains. Excess water can be let off by surface drains, additional water. Look, these are the things which one has to do. Then we have got problems like site-specific. About 3/4 of Panjim city drains into the Santinej Nala. The actual problem of Santinej Nala has not been studied deeply. What about the mouth of Santinej Nala? It has been silted up over the years. How are you going to solve that problem? Unless you do AI studies, you do modeling studies, nobody will allow you to just dig a channel right up to Mandovi River, sorry. There are so many other aspects because flat of the slope of Santinej Nala is very flat. There are so many issues which are this. I think Mala area, WID, we had suggested some solution, and I think that is the right solution, where all the drains they are taken into that lake, and from lake they are pumped out. Because over the years, so many developments and so many issues have cropped up. Mala also, I can tell you, right before that, Panjim was a Khazan land. Basically, before it was developed into this city in somewhere in 17th century. Pato was a Khazan land. Nobody studied the drainage of the actual Khazan land before development of that. Because of that, flooding occurs.
So,
no, these are some of the issues I will not expert on.
touched upon.
All the rivulets and these are prone to tidal variations. And water used to enter into some low-lying areas, which were like the detention basins. For 6 hours it used to stay, and then after low tide it used to go off. Now all those areas have been developed. One is a parade ground, one is a lake wave colony. There are so many areas which have been developed. I'm not against development. But have we thought about what would be the solution? Because in the for our future, we'll have to think about having bypass for this Nala. No, that is what I would.
So here's my task force, where this gentleman is clearly part of the team rather than just a team of foreigners.
I was a part of No, so why I'm saying also now, see now, there are these consultants who've been hired to do the master plans for 4-5 cities in Goa. So Ponda is one, Margao, Palpoi, Panjim is going to be the next one that is
Palpoi
included.
is different, Ponda is different. Margao and Panjim
Not like that. What I'm saying is now, the same consultants are going to be they are going to be speaking to local people who have the expertise also. So if you could I know those architects, if you could personally help with them also, there's nothing like it also. Because they will need the first-hand knowledge that you have to basically solve these issues.
No, in this Rotary Club also, we have got 2.
No, but say, okay, that's okay. You spoke the longest, so might as well take you on.
Because he spoke the longest,
I can clearly see the reason why we have this discussion is already.
No, I just want to emphasize one thing very important. Mayor. Thank you for saying that. You know, my frustration has been a lot of plans have been done for Panjim. None of them address this issue, Mr. Ratkani. None of them.
Correct.
And that is very frustrating. Big crores of rupees
I've
has
been
been
vocal in that first you have to tackle the drainage and then think about others.
Agreed.
Whereas nobody agreed, they are beautifying, but nobody thinks about the drainage. That is the means opening of gutters will not help. We have to think about thinking out of the box in some way.
So, in 1986, I think 1986 by government.
Mike.
Yeah. Good evening. So 87, Kirloskar consultants were appointed as consultants by government. I think PWD was
that time ID.
ID was they were appointed, but some plan was drawn, but never implemented further. Neither the reports were published or anything like that.
Look, there were so many consultants who were appointed. There were webcos. There was this. So many, but they never understood the site issues, site-specific issues.
Nobody came for a real site inspection and followed it up.
I'm just going to cut here. I am conclude this point. One was inventory of drains, and that was a very very important. Taking an inventory of drains and study of the nala, taking the exact levels of the inward levels and how the desilting can be done. These are two independent projects, and we don't know whether the smart city consultants who are coming in are aware that they have to conduct these. So can we write down that, okay, we should take up these two independent projects before we do solutions to the city, right?
I would add one more, that there should be a task force where these two gentlemen and others who have local knowledge of this subject absolutely need to be part of this task force. This cannot be given to foreign consultants alone.
So they can, what these consultants are planning to do is basically hiring consultants from Goa who have the local experience. So they can
just making sure.
Yeah.
I mean, just to throw another point, is it possible that you could write down some kind of not a wish list, a proper technical summary of what needs to be done?
May I interrupt here, please?
Yes.
I would like to ask Mr. Mayor one question. Who is of such consultants, well-meaning people from Goa who would want to help?
Yeah.
Now, I want to ask you, who is responsible for these projects of Panjim? Is it CCP? Is it Urban Development Department? Is it WRD? Is it who? Is it Smart City? Is it Smart City?
So now, this thing that is coming up now will be headed under urban development. So now this is aside from smart city.
So smart city is different, urban development is different.
As of now, it is.
Do they know what is going on in each other's house? Let me be very frank and honest about it.
Honestly,
No, because that is, see, what happens is, we know at heart you are well-meaning.
Yeah.
You are spending your resources and time with people, experts here. You are getting inputs. As Amit is saying, we are also ready to give inputs. But they are going to be lying in a dustbin over here on a paper carrying dust. That is what is my worry. There are a lot of citizens, well-meaning citizens who want to help Panjim should take the lead. and saying that I am going to lead my team and you have to listen to me because I have a team of experts also. These are professionals who are well-meaning, who are ready to work with you on honorary basis. We don't want any fees. I don't think Mr. Bharne coming from US wants any fees.
Absolutely not. I mean,
So what are they, but are they going to be respected by these people, these consultants who are paid crores of rupees by the government? Are they going to get the respect?
See, as of now, what I said before, now I have an understanding of who they are because they are connected to some. See, now Swati, who's head of CII, she has a relationship with them from earlier. Now she says they are very effective at what they do. They have done multiple projects in Bombay and everything, and they have delivered there also. So now, what we have the benefit of also now is now our current UD minister is actually making a lot of good initiatives when it comes to every single municipality and with the department in general also. He has already streamlined a lot of procedures for UD and he is bringing down a lot of funding. Whether it comes from the state or it comes from the central government, I know for a fact he has a meeting with the UD minister in Delhi. So now if we have somebody like him who is backing us, there is no reason why none of this cannot work. We have G. Suda who is on the board of Smart City. I am on the board of Smart City also. Now even if Smart City does not want to tackle it, because the Smart City mission is currently over, we cannot add anything to the Smart City mission. Now if G. Suda wants to take it up, see their engineers are very good engineers and they are very hard-working people also. So if they can ensure me that they are very dedicated towards doing the job, there is no reason why I say it cannot work at all. And I think it should work also. And for Panjim, I will be there to coordinate everything.
Why I am saying this, Mr. Mayor, is that a lack of coordination can be seen right outside this building.
I understand.
You know, one department has closed one road because a nala is being built for last 6 months. There's only one road coming to this whole area, and that is being done by third agency on both sides.
But that is true. That is the biggest difficulty.
This is exactly the problem.
No, so those are the same difficulties that I face as the mayor also, right? See,
No,
I can
that is what we request you. You are our first citizen. We request you take the lead and stand up for Panjim.
I will.
Stand up for Panjim that this is not allowed. This is my city, and we want to beautify it. Sorry to use the word beautify. We want to take care of our city. My citizens are with me, is what you should say, and we are with you. But don't allow too many people to interfere over.
Right.
That is exactly what is happening.
We'll get it done.
Let's just complete with this
Just
point.
one small suggestion. Why don't you have a service ducts on every road? Why do you have to dig the roads?
No, so I'll tell you practically what the thing is. So now we had, on a trial basis, when we were supposed to do the universal footpaths, we had taken a small stretch of road.
Where?
We were supposed to do a trial stretch for universal footpaths. Okay, so we were supposed to move all of the ducts into a central line. So now the problem was, say, in a matter of, say, 50 meters, you had 7 or 8 different agencies involved. You had PWD with their water, you had sewage, you had BSNL, you have other telecom companies, you have electricity department wires that need to be moved. So the problem is now what, I'm not saying it cannot be done, but it's an extremely difficult process. And to get the stakeholders involved is also extremely difficult. Now see, this road you're talking about outside now, it's been given to one single contractor. Now that one single contractor is in charge of removing all of the single utilities themselves. So that is why what you're seeing now is happening at an extremely quick pace. So if that is done, or if a single contractor is like a point of contact and he does it himself, there is no reason why it cannot be done. The only problem is now it is very expensive. To cover 5 kilometers of road, it costs you 120 crores. It is that expensive because your cost of moving the lines is 40% of your estimated cost. That is a lot of money. So a problem.
You can charge it to the company whosoever is doing it.
No, the public government has to pay.
Let the government pay because as it is they are collecting taxes for it. See, as he rightly said, at some point of time somebody has to pay for it.
No, that is true also.
See, what happens is every time, every developed country or every city, what you see, there are service ducts. Why only if we try to avoid it?
Honestly,
there are service ducts in LA and everywhere. So
honestly,
it's not something rocket
No,
science.
I will explain it. So now the problem is these ducts have been laid since the 50s and 60s. It's not a problem that happens now during our term.
No, even like in Bombay, there are service ducts which are laid now, which are not laid, which are not earlier.
I understand, sir, but now to do it is like some 100 crores or 200 crores for 10. It's a
It is also small. So let government spend
All right.
on that.
Yeah, we can.
We have many more interesting points, pressing issues, right? So we will address them on the right forum. Right now, let us bring this discussion back to what Bobby has probably thought of mentioning. So one point was clearly the flooding issue, and I would still request that those 2 points taken by Sandeep Gadkari were valid.
Sure.
Please ensure as a mayor that any consultant who is doing the study for the Nala includes these points, and I would request you to kindly make a 10-pointer suggestion, maybe from Rotary or from your own self, and we could present it to the mayor, which he can in turn present it to the, and you can take lead in this as you, it could be our mouthpiece in many ways. Yeah.
One thing, and then to conclude this, I would love to have transparency on both sides. I think, first of all, we need input from these experts who have studied this more than anybody else in this room. And the second thing is when you bring your consultant, whoever it is, and I'm sure they're capable, you get this input, let them come up with a solution, but you present that solution in an open forum like this with all these people sitting here and others, so that they are completely satisfied and they can ask the right questions before it starts getting. So this is the kind of outreach and transparency that we must try to do in that. And if we do it, Mr. Mayor, it's going to make everything much happier and more progressive. Right? Big issue. So let me just explain what I'm trying to say. This is the story of every historic town. It's not special to Panjim. Historic towns were designed not for cars. The cars did not exist. Panjim was one of them. It was designed with locks and streets, beautiful buildings, 2 stories. Cars did not exist. So life was good. The first generation of modern architects that came in, who did tall buildings, I'm talking about the Velia building in the late 70s or whenever it was, Junta House, the Kamath Hotel building next to it. These were buildings that were designed with no cars on the site. The bylaws did not even require you to have cars at that time, because it was never assumed that the pressure cooker would have so much pressure. This is the normal story of a historic city. But now there comes a moment in the historic city, in the 3rd generation, that every family owns 3 cars. Every child, a teenager owns a car. So we have exceeded the peak value of Panjim. And the problem is a mathematical one. We have limited street space. Half of that street space has to go for parking. We know that. Our streets are narrow and traffic has to flow. The only thing working for Panjim right now is that it is a grid. If Panjim was a dead end going into a hill or something and there was no grid, I think Panjim would have been finished by now. So the flow of traffic is what makes Panjim work today. So the question is, what are potential solutions for this? So I was giving a talk today earlier, and I was saying, I think of myself as a doctor of cities. That is the attitude with which I approach my profession. I'm not an artist, I'm a doctor. You can do a diagnosis of a city. You can understand what is wrong with it, and you can prescribe a range of healing solutions. A good doctor will give you a range of opportunities. A doctor will say, I can cut you open right now and heal you in 2 days, but it will have long-term effects. I can give you a change of diet, which you will struggle with for the next 6 months, but it will make your health better for the next 20. The choice is yours, not mine. Okay? So in Panjim, we have a number of solutions. One is we leave Panjim as it is. We let the cars flow, we let the people complain, but Panjim will find a way, just as it's doing now. That's solution number 1. Issue number 2, you do something really progressive. I believe there was a study done, and they can elaborate on it already, that talks about introducing buses, public transportation. I don't know how feasible it is. Will Panjim residents stop driving? What will happen in the monsoon? I don't know. But other countries, other cities in the world have taken public transit, reduced driving, high quality public transit that is very proximate. You don't have to walk anywhere. Public transit comes right to you, and they've solved this problem. That's solution number 2. Solution number 3 is the invasive one, the aggressive one. You take certain areas of the city and you start designing parking structures. Okay? This will have short-term benefits because your parking space will be there, but in the long term, it will destroy Panjim. We know that. But short term, it will help. So there are a range of solutions. And there's a 4th one, which is smart city. You take technology, you have an app on your phone, which tells you where you're going to find a parking stop. Okay, so there are a number of such solutions that are there. The question is, which one do we choose, and what do we want?
Then I would like you to share your thoughts on this issue.
So that's also currently what's on one of the proposals for smart city. So now the main idea of the smart city proposal was basically you would have a bus system that ran from say from Santa Cruz to Talegaon to Panjim. So the main idea being now, since that is the source, you would generally not even get into your car to get into Panjim in the first place. You would take a bus that say would run every 10 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever it was, it would take you around an outer loop to get to the city. And there would be 2 smaller loops within the city. So if you needed to get, say, 18 June Road, there'd be like a smaller bus service. If you need to get any of the surrounding areas, there'd be another. So there are 3 sizes of buses also. The bigger ones would be from, say, Talegaon to Panjim. The middle ones would be a smaller route, and then the smallest buses would be like last mile service and everything. So now that is one of the proposals that we have currently. Only problem is I don't know whether people are going to use it or what apprehensions people will have for using it. That's the.
I would like to propose look, earlier there was city buses plying in throughout the city, where I think most of us, when we were young, we used to take that city buses, which were going on both ways, Mada, this main city and all that. Now those stopped, and everybody now has a vehicle, even a car in each house. So basically, just to stop that, I think we should have EVs running, means on both sides of the main city itself. From Talegaon to this is not an issue, but through the main city, if you want to reduce the parking, first and foremost, I had suggested that multi-store car parking, which was there, we make all the area besides it as no parking. Then everybody will go inside and start the EVs from that point right into the city on 1 or 2 sides. I think that way, if you start about 10 minutes and people are really, they get a feel of it, I think a lot of people would prefer going by such EVs.
But in this urban planning, this smart city project, I have not seen any fire hydrant line laid in the city. And if you talk about Pato itself, just imagine a cloud burst in Pato, and the first responder to respond from from the city itself, how much time it will take. And if you have such a beautiful project, what about the safe the fire hydrants and so on and so forth?
Very well.
And one more last point is, Panjim itself, you should be aware that the firefighters use. Do we have raw water for firefighting? That's a question.
And one car parking in Baga and run trams at a frequency, very fast frequency. Why anybody will take a car there inside the city?
Yeah.
That can be thought about this place also.
Yeah.
See, the vehicles
have to be tested. Believe me, I love your idea, but we have to test it. So my question, let's get to the practicalities, okay? And we can't ask.
It is tested, sir.
Well, let me finish what I'm saying. What I'm simply pointing out is I love your idea. I think it's very doable. I would support it. I would walk. But
Hope we had similar climate here, though.
well, but there are factors that they contradict it, exactly. So there's no point in asking the question to this room because we are a small session. But has anybody done a session where you have proposed these kind of thoughts to the public to test what is going on? Well, no, because what I'm saying is, look, the difference is, I can bet you there can be 10 more brilliant ideas coming out of this room today, and 20 more outside. The point is the bridge between effective implementation and all these ideas is outreach. You have to make this transparent to the public. Has anybody tested? Has anybody asked the residents of Panjim? Will they stop driving? Will they walk?
Will you all work?
To an extent. To an extent.
The reason.
See, when there is a luggage, how does one walk? And he is not been able to carry it.
No, say not so extreme of an example.
So
You
you
just have to like.
you have to think about it. You can't just think in isolation that everybody is
So
going.
under what circumstances would you leave your car at home and walk?
See, because there has to be a solution for others also.
No, I'm saying you personally, like in general, like under what circumstances would you leave your car alone to walk?
Okay, if I have no this one, I don't
So,
take 5 kilometers also.
in the backdrop of this discussion, mobility, there was a master plan, a mobility plan proposed for Panjim, and it was adopted by the municipality and the state government. If we can open that master plan, that mobility plan, you will see clearly how the planners of that proposal had planned something for Panjim. That means there's an outer ring road, and there's a loop road, and so the bus loops A, B, C, connecting at every point, and all those, that study is fine.
Yeah.
The issue is, most of the people here will not connect with that idea because we all have cars. And maybe we want this mobility plan to be successful because we should be able to get the cars at the expense of somebody else who may keep their cars on the outskirts of Panjim. So the idea was to keep two large parking lots on the two sides of Panjim, and then you start moving inside. But
until at least the full system comes into place. So as of now, we still have to wait for a certain part of the tender to be fulfilled.
So are we working on the same master plan that was the mobility plan?
See, even I believe now future mobility will be public transport also. You'll reach a stage, see, everyone here will have 2 cars or 3 cars or something like that. It's impossible now. See, our city was designed in like early 18th century. And it's like developed through the years. It was not designed to handle the volume of cars. So now for us to say there's no parking, obviously there is no parking because the city is not designed to handle this level of parking. It just makes common sense. Now it is not going to change until everybody decides that they are going to take a bus instead of a thing.
Okay,
take a bike.
there is a suggestion, there was a proposal.
Time would be how the students are dropped. 10 o'clock, all the lawyers are running to courts. So there is really a problem. Now, you can't tell me that I'm coming from Kursade. Now you come and start at 6 o'clock, you stop there. I am so used to going and parking outside the High Court, going inside. My case is at 10 o'clock. Now, this is a problem. What I am talking is a study done of vehicles that are going on the road. Are they from South Goa? Are they from Mapsa? Are they residents of Panjim?
Yes, there is a study. That is what I was talking. There is a study in 2014 and 15. Today the number of cars may have increased from there on, but there is a study to that extent, and I think we should take. Okay, so we are at complete. Yeah, so we should test this idea maybe on a lean day of the week, and test it for such 5 lean days of the week. And see how it works.
No, that's what I'm saying. So if somebody were to submit a proper plan,
let us reopen the master plan.
That is perfectly fine.
So let us take this, apart from the canal issue, let us take this mobility plan also, and let us see how we can take it forward. Yeah.
Again, we need to give some breathing time for the people. Is that it's a dead space in the evenings, all over through the evenings after 6 o'clock, or even sometimes in the morning time, part of the parking area is not being used. So if you look at the constituency of how that road network is, you have footpaths on both sides, then you have a 1 row of parking, then you have a 10-meter wide road, which is a one-way, then you have another parking, then in between there is a block which is only for 2-wheeler parking, and then the same system follows on the other road itself. So if we take, in the evening times, we remove that parking lot for the 2-wheelers, that can be a nice place for people to hang out, where we have some tables, chairs and stuff like that. Just abutting that on both the sides, the parking lot which is there for the 4-wheelers, you remove the 4-wheeler parking from there and use it for hand carts, food carts and your food trucks. Then the central area becomes a food plaza. It's a very simple project to use that area which is unused in the evening times into a food plaza. You can over on time start working on more development on this by putting in paving stones where there is, you make the entire surface permeable to the rains, to the monsoons. You add some nice trees over there, and I think tree plantation is something that Rotary can easily take it up. So if you give us, if there are trees over there, but the tree pits are so small that the trees are never going to grow much higher. So we do a tree plantation, we put up some lights in between, and it can be run as a Sunday night walking food market. We have seen that in Phuket when we had gone recently. The entire old Phuket town was converted into a food market, the entire full stretch of road, which is almost around 1.5–2 kilometers long. And the next day morning, it's just like a normal street. So it changes the demographic completely from night to day, and it happens only on Sunday. So why can't we do that on a Sunday, on a trial basis? So say we start on Sunday, every Sunday, and then we can look at maybe every day or every evening.
President, I would say just let us drop the idea of a small tree plantation to Rotary. I feel the Rotary should take the whole project.
Yes, I'm very keen. If the mayor is going to give us the permission to do it, yes, we are surely going to take it up.
Yeah.
You have to tell.
Oh, sorry. We'd love to give us some board when it comes to this actually. Because we're hoping that you would act. Because we believe this is like, because PANJIM doesn't have anything like, say, you all went to forget, also how it is like, also how the city comes alive in the night. PANJIM is like a dying city. Besides that casino belt, there's nothing else that any of us can do in the city. All of us have to head out. So we are hoping that Pata would be one of those places that every PANJIMite can congregate. Like everyone can come there with their families, spend a Saturday night, and if it's successful, you can have it every day. We can have events there, it'll be like a public space for all of us to get together and continue to get together for like the rest of our life. So we're hoping you will support us.
One is, in order to make the project financially successful, I would encourage all of us to think of what exactly the activities are. Because what shouldn't be happening is this shouldn't become a so-called beautification, namesake, vending. We go there, we hang out, and in 6 months, the project is bored. Everyone's bored. This has to be this has to reap financial benefits. So it can sustain, as I showed, long term. It only gets better. You've got to make a lot of money. So all the businessmen, there are many of you wonderful guys sitting here, come together, think of what kind of vendors, what retail, what shops, make this real. Of course, it's temporal. It has to go away in the next morning. But we have to think very carefully of what we are doing. That's one. The second thing is, we must not forget that the beauty of Pato is also that it is on the creek. It is on the Oren, the Rua de Oren. So there are mangroves there. There's a bridge going above the mangroves. The amount of investment that goes into this project is also an opportunity to call attention to the fact that we also need to think of the creek and what the mangroves need and all kinds of things. It's all related. So we can't just think of Pato and make it prosperous. There's something else going on there. We should look at it.
And we should also make a projection as to what is the final phase of this project, So the right from stage 1 to stage 10.
For conducting this conversation of an urban planner with the mayor and the Rotary together. So it was wonderful, and I think we can come up with a nice project, and we need the blessings from the CCP. So if that happens, then hopefully we will be able to make part of the city a little happy. Going forward, I would like to give a little bit of token of appreciation. It will be handed over to a girl child in rural area on your behalf as part of our endeavor to empower a girl child. So instead of mementos being just stocked up in your tables, okay, this is what we give it to you, and on your behalf, we will be doing a small project.